Hi Brazers, and welcome to the Brezzy Bunch. I thought we would do a preview of content that I plan to do for members only, where we could just kind of read and relax. So there's a book I really like called Hitman by Bret Hart. I might butcher some names, so I'm sorry if I do. Let's go to the preface. Okay. It seemed like an eternity until the pastor called me to the podium. I rose slowly from my seat, away from the insulation of loved ones. Julie, our 4 kids, my friend Marcy, and Olympic wrestling champion Daniel Agale. I felt them all take a deep breath as I made my way to the aisle. My father's funeral service was held on October 23rd, 2003, at the biggest church in Calgary, yet it overflowed with an electric throng of thousands who came to pay their respects to the legendary Stu Hart, old-time pro wrestling promoter extraordinaire. I moved slowly, a silent prayer resounding in my head. Please, God, help me make it through. I am an experienced public speaker, but my confidence had been shattered by a major stroke. It hadn't been that long since I'd been trapped in a wheelchair, paralyzed on the left side, unsure whether I'd ever walk again. Since then, I'd been having emotional meltdowns triggered by the most unlikely things. This is common among stroke victims. I didn't know how I was going to deliver a eulogy worth of my father and not break down. It was also hard for me to walk tall when I felt so many eyes measuring the difference between what I was now. My body stiff, the chiseled edges softened to what I'd been. But when I walked past the pew where my brothers and sisters sat, my limp more noticeable than I wanted, I sensed, perhaps for the first time in our lives, that they were all behind me, even those with whom I'd differences. Do it for Dad, Bret. Do it for all of us. Do us proud. There'd been 12 Hart kids, and now there were 10. Our beloved mother, Helen, had died just 2 years earlier. We'd all been through so much, traveled such a long, long road. This wasn't just the end of my father's life, this was something deeper. And I think we all felt it. So many times, over so many years, I truly thought this godforsaken business was dead to me. But this was the day pro wrestling died for me for good. In the front pew sat Vince McMahon, billionaire promoter of the WWE, once WWF, who made a failed attempt to steal my dignity, my career, and my reputation. Beside him sat Carlo DeMarco, my old friend turned loyal McMahon lieutenant. They were doing their best to look dignified, but I knew, and they knew I knew, that McMahon's presence at Stu Hart's funeral was more about image than anything else. It only made me more determined to climb the steps with my head held high. You don't matter to me anymore, Vince. I survived you. And everything else too. I had thought it was wrestling's darkest hour when I had my heart cut out in the middle of the ring by that son of a bitch. Then the Grim Reaper of wrestling took my youngest brother, Owen. And that was the blackest day. Keep walking, I told myself, for Davy, Pillman, Kurt, Rick, Liz. So many of us are gone, so young, and directly on account of the wrestling life. Hell, even Hawk. People told me he wept like a baby when he had heard Stu had died of pneumonia at 83. And then Hawk died that very night. One more for the list, and surely not the last. I reached into my breast pocket and took out my notes, carefully unfolding them onto the slippery, polished surface of the oak podium. I surveyed the crowd, my gaze stopping at the young apprentices, Chris Benoit, Edge, and Storm, who looked back at me with respectful anticipation. Next, I glanced at a company of stalwart ring veterans, the Cuban, Leo, Hito, even Bad News, all more ruminative and melancholy than I'd ever seen them. I read it in their faces. The unspoken truth that burying a man like Stu Hart was truly the end of what we had lived for, and too many had died for. And then the sight of old Killer Kowalski in his good suit transported me back 4 decades, to before Owen was even born. Let me know how you guys like this, and if you want more videos like this. Have a great evening, you guys. Bye.